From the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, this is the Dental Lighthouse podcast. We take questions from anyone in the dental profession and discuss what it takes to win not only in dentistry, but in life. Business, leadership, relationships, parenting, health and wellness, money management, nothing is off limits on the Dental Lighthouse podcast. I'm Jason Tanoory, your host, and have over 20 years of experience to pull from. Learn from my mistakes and let me help you collapse time so you can become the best version of yourself. Yo, Dr. Jason here, Dental Lighthouse podcast. Special gift for you guys today. We're probably about halfway through the servant leadership course. It's been awesome. We have about 60 people in the course, really good material. Of course, I'm a little biased, but more importantly, just great interaction amongst the group in the Q&As after the presentation and the Facebook group throughout the week. But I did want to share with you guys, let's call it a sneak peek. I did want to share with you guys episode 1 or presentation 1, whatever you want to call it, module 1, because we got a lot of really good feedback on it. And it talks about, let's call them the soft things, core values, vision, purpose. Why do we exist? Who do I identify as? And the older I get, the more I double down on how important these things are. And when I was younger, all I really cared about was how fast can I prep a crown and how quickly can I take out wisdom teeth. But if you're trying to scale an organization, if you're trying to do it the right way, then really making sure you have absolute clarity with your core values, with the direction you're trying to take your organization, with your purpose or why you exist. And then this year we rolled in some, for lack of a better term, identity work. Who are you trying to identify as? Who are you trying to become? And this type of material resonates obviously at work, but as who you are as a parent, as a spouse, as a friend, as a coach. So I wanted to share it with my listeners because I do think it's very good information and it could be something that could really help you get to where you ultimately want to be. So hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions or concerns about it, don't hesitate to reach out. TheDentalLighthouse.com is where you can find my contact information, email, and cell phone. You can call or text me. And then this material, these 8 weeks that we're going through now, after we go through all of the editing process and what have you, we'll make sure it's available for your consuming pleasure on the website. So just stay tuned to the podcast to determine when that is. Thanks, guys. Hope you have an amazing day.
So why this course, right? So some of the things that I'm hoping that you're asking yourself, and some of the reasons that I hope that you're in this course is, are you currently happy with your ability to lead? Do you struggle with holding people accountable? Do you feel like you spend too much time putting out fires all day? I used to have this season of my life where I would get into work, it would just be total chaos as I was practicing dentistry for 8 hours, and then on my way home, I was almost in this coma. And I was like, what did I even accomplish today? I was just stuck in this whirlwind of putting out fires. So if you're a dentist, an office manager, an operations person, a lead, if you have days like that, that sucks. I don't want you to have days like that. And my hope is the material will prevent days like that. Do you feel like everyone's coming to you at once? Like no one knows what they're supposed to do. No one has answers to questions. So let me just ask ... and they'll figure it out, right? Do you think to yourself, there must be a better way to do this? So those are some of the questions that I'm hoping that asking yourself. And if that's in fact true, then I think I can help. And I'm excited to be able to try to help you guys over the next 8 weeks. So why is it important to have both docs and key team leads here? I get this question a lot, specifically from doctors that are like, they'll say, oh, I'm just going to come and take the material and then I'll communicate it to my lead, and I'm not pointing any fingers here, or the opposite situation is I'm going to send my office manager to the course and she'll take care of it, right? So you're basically abdicating leadership responsibilities from the founder doc. Now, I know some of the docs can't be here today, totally get that. But if your mindset is one of, I'm going to delegate leadership development to Jason. I think that's the wrong mindset. So I hope that if you're both not present here live, then you're watching the recordings together and you're finding value and communicating constantly about this. So it's been my personal coaching experience that whenever I can have a doc and a key lead together, there is exponentially more progress and accountability built in. Um, when we have both of you together, it prevents playing telephone. Many of you docs have been on CE events on a Friday, Saturday course, and then you come back into the office really fired up, and it lands on deaf ears because the rest of the team wasn't there or the rest of key leaders weren't there. And it's so much harder to implement some type of CE that you've taken when you were the only one to attend it. So for those reasons is why I feel like it's really important to have both of you here. Um, it forces you to push each other. It forces the non-clinician to push the doctor and vice versa. If you have great non-clinicians on your team, docs, it's going to be exponentially easier for you to get to where you want to go. And pouring into these non-clinicians, these office managers, these team leads, these operations people, it's so important. So yes, I'm glad that they're here, but I need your help to continue the conversation throughout the week, to push them, to question them, to just always want to get better. You can't do this alone. And I think you'll find that once you both are exposed to this material and you can start to over communicate these principles to each other and you can get on the same page, that's when you'll really start to take off. So what are we going to cover over the next 8 weeks? First, we're going to start with some basic foundational principles. We're going to talk about vision, basically where we want to go. We're going to talk about core values. We're going to talk about purpose. Now, let me let me hit the pause button there. If you feel that vision, core values, and purpose are not important, I'm asking you to set that paradigm aside and just be open to what I have to say. I once had a season in my life where I thought vision, core values, and purpose was soft, was really not important, didn't really move the needle. Um, I have learned that I was very ignorant at that point in my life. And when I started to embrace those foundational principles, really have clarity on them, and really over communicate them to my key leaders, and then have them disseminate that material throughout the organization, that's when we really started to blossom and take off. So, whatever your perspective is right now on foundational principles like vision, core values, and purpose, I ask that you, if it's a negative bias, just realize that, awesome, put it to the side, and just give me a couple weeks to maybe communicate to you that your paradigm could be wrong. We're going to talk about winning. Some of you guys that listen to the podcast or that I coach with you guys one on one understand my concept of winning. It's a very black and white thing that I think will help you guys. We're going to talk about team sizes, roles and responsibilities of team leads. We're going to talk about accountability charts, which is a fancy way EOS describes organizational charts. Like I said, roles and responsibilities. And then obviously the second half of the course is we're going to really dive into the specific 8 principles of servant leadership, of agape love, and so much more. So I'm excited to share a lot of this brain damage and scar tissue that I've been exposed to over the last 25 years now with you, in an effort to hope that it collapses time for you guys moving forward. So what am I hoping to accomplish? Simplify, systematize, and operationalize leadership. I am an engineer by training. One of the things that you'll find with me is I'm very black and white. I try to strip systems and processes down to a point where you guys have heard me joke, my 16-year-old son could do it. He is now 20, but the point is that it's not fair to create layers of complexity when we're talking about this stuff. And I feel that I have an innate ability to be able to strip it down. So I love this quote. It doesn't have to be so complicated, so riddled with ambiguity. I will give you everything you need to become the best servant leader possible, the kind of leader that your family's friends and business desperately need. A little bit about me. This is a picture of my wife, Kara. She's my whole world. I'm from upstate New York. I run a growing group practice in the Rochester Finger Lakes area. 5 kids. Um, I'm a little bit of a nutrition and workout junkie. Many of you guys have reached me through the podcast. I also do a lot of private coaching, both in a one-on-one and group setting environment. And I get out of bed just trying to be a little bit better every day. This is Chris. Oh, wearing the same t-shirt. I really have like 6 t-shirts. This is a picture of my family Christmas morning. This picture of my family. Every January, we go out to Arizona for a week to get out of the upstate New York winters. And we pretty much climb Camelback every morning. And then we go to First Watch or one of the local breakfast places and then overstuff ourselves and then spend the rest of the day chilling out by the pool. This is the QR code to my podcast. If you haven't been exposed to it, a lot of the principles that we're going to talk about over the next 8 weeks, I really unpack on the podcast, and I use specific examples based on some of my coaching calls. I'm very proud of the podcast. I feel like the material is very relevant, and I try to make sure that it resonates well. So, if you're not already listening, please consider checking out a few episodes and subscribing. I think it'll be worth your while. So how are we going to tackle this? So again, we're going to start with foundational principles and then organizational structure. We're going to talk about each seat, the roles and responsibilities associated with each seat, the winning model, leadership, and then we're going to spend a lot of time talking about meeting cadences. So I love to reread books. And before we really get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about here, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that this stuff is so relevant in all walks of life. Obviously, in our dental practices, in our families, in our churches. And at the end of the day, leadership is simply a relationship and communication issue. If we could figure out a way to double down on the relationship with the people that we lead, you will be amazed at how much easier this is. Now, the relationship must be based in communication. It must be based in clarity on expectations. It must be based in the principles of servant leadership. But I'm just adding these few slides here because every resource that you look towards or that you read, every author, and I love John Gordon, love his books. This is a pretty good book. The best book he's ever written is called The Carpenter. It's not Energy Bus. If you're looking for a book to read with your kids, check out The Carpenter. But again, just in reading this book, and I'm going to show some pages here in a few minutes, I'm going to just share with you why everyone feels the same way, but no one really, I shouldn't say no one, but many don't double down on what everyone is saying. Simple, just not easy, right? So why do we need servant leadership? Ultimately, the goal of servant leadership is to grow people, help people become the best version of themselves, and give them what they need. Research is abundantly clear. For the last 50 years, people don't leave organizations, they leave their boss. They leave their direct lead. So when I get on a coaching call and someone says, I lost a hygienist down the street because they're paying $2 more an hour, that's not why they left. They left because they didn't have a relationship with you. So whenever someone says that to me, my next question is, well, were they happy? Were they winning? How were they doing? Well, what do you mean? They seemed like they were fine. I was like, well, can you send me the last couple one-on-ones that you've done with her so I can just read through the notes? Well, we don't have time for one-on-ones. Well, how do you know if she felt valued? How do you know if she felt like she was doing a good job in her position? Oh, she was. She didn't complain. Like that, you're not getting it. If you're going to become a great servant leader, if you're going to keep people, prevent turnover, have people fully engaged, have people going to war with you, have people like really want to help you accomplish your vision, you have to be intimately involved in the relationship. You have to really care. And again, really care can mean a lot of different things. And because I'm trying to operationalize this for you guys, I will be really, really clear when we talk about the 8 principles of servant leadership on tactical, granular things that you can do on a moment to moment basis to make sure that you're becoming the best servant leader that you can. 75% of workers voluntarily left their job, and they did so not because of the position, not because of the organization, but because of their boss. We know that organizations, teams, and people only grow when the leaders grow. We know that in today's environment, only organizations, and again, organizations is really two or more people, right? Could be your marriage, could be your family, could be your church group, could be a team that you're coaching, could be your dental practice. Organizations only grow when you provide people what they need versus what they want. And we'll talk about the difference there. It's not a subtle difference, it's a very clear difference. But when you can pour into people and give people what they need, they will ultimately go to war with you. They will ultimately want to help you get to where you're trying to go. A couple of pages from that book. My son has been sick for over 6 months and you didn't even know. You have to understand what's going on in people's lives. They have to want, they need, again, need versus want. We'll talk all about that here in a few sessions. You, they need someone, a team lead, a boss, to understand what's going on in their life. It's not just about work. It's about the relationship. Can I double down on this relationship? It's about empathetic listening. It's about really understanding where they're coming from. You have to work on this. And then again, it's your perspective. This is the boss responding to someone that's leaving. Paul is leaving. Ruth is the boss. And Paul is leaving because she felt like her boss didn't care about her. And her boss is like, I can't believe she's doing this to me. So there's a paradigm there that we need to break through, right? So when your hygienist goes down the street for $2 an hour, right? You can't have the mindset of, I can't believe she's doing this to me. The mindset needs to be, oh my gosh, that really sucks. Extreme ownership. What do I need to do to make sure that that doesn't happen again? What do I need to do to prevent turnover, to prevent losing great people? What do I need to do to grow people to become the best versions of themselves? That's the mindset that I need you to adopt. And I will tell you what you need to do over the next 8 weeks. But you need to get rid of the mindset of, oh, she just wanted more money, or she was a C player anyways, or good riddance, or dot dot dot, whatever it is, right? Own it, do everything that you can to own it, and then the rest you can let go. So again, it just was rereading that book, so I wanted to throw those slides in there. Okay, let's talk about vision. The first foundational principle of vision. Um, I love this quote. I usually attest it to Stephen Covey, but truth is, it was this monk, Thomas Merton, that ultimately said it. People may spend their whole lives climbing the ladder of success only to find out that once they reach the top, the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. So many coaching clients come to me because they are struggling to keep up with their colleagues, right? There's a couple groups that I'm associated with, and the mindset of the group is grow, grow, grow. It's you have to like work harder. You have to keep up with oh sorry, keep up with the Joneses and what have you. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me close this here. And is that really what you're trying to do? I don't know. It depends. So when we talk about vision work, it's really having absolute clarity with who you are trying to become at work. Now, I threw in a couple slides this week because I also feel that you need to have clarity with who you are trying to become at home. Um, and I wanted, especially my non-clinicians, my office managers, my team leads, to have I want you to meditate on that as well, right? Who are you trying to become at work and who are you trying to become at home? But your vision cannot just be to do what the guy down the street's doing. I have 8 locations, 150 employees. Your vision can't be to compete with me, right? Your vision has to be what's important to you. And once you have clarity on your vision, once you know specifically, okay, I want to make this much money. I want to work this many hours clinically. I want to work this many hours non-clinically. Then you start to peel back the layers of the onion and you're like, oh, okay. Now that I have clarity with where I want to go, let's get to work. I had a coaching relationship with someone last year who was keeping up with the Joneses. 10 operatory practice, two or three associates. He hated his life because he just wasn't wired to keep people accountable. He wasn't wired to mentor associates. Um, so when him and I started doing vision work, he's like, really, Jason, I want to practice on myself. I'm like, perfect, but I want to make X amount of dollars. Okay, perfect. So now we know what you need to make. Now we know what your overhead needs to be. Now we know how many hours that you're going to work. Does this feel right to you? And he's like, hell yeah, it feels right. So over the course of the year, we set that as the vision and we work like hell to get there. Now the guy's doing $2.5 million, working 3 days a week with a very small team. He's got like 6 people on his team and his overhead is dialed in. He's taking home exactly what he wants to take home. And he couldn't be happier versus I need to keep up with this person and this person and this person. Now I'm on the very other end of that extreme, right? I want to serve as many people as I possibly can. That's my vision. So that's why I'm pursuing what I'm pursuing. There's no right or wrong answers to this test. The wrong answer is not doing it. The wrong answer is climbing up this ladder and realizing it's leaning against the wrong building. That sucks. I don't want you guys 20 years from now to be like, oh, this is not what I wanted. So do the work now, and I'll send you some specific homework that talks about vision. So again, this is true at home and work. So we're going to obviously talk 99% about work, but I wanted to sprinkle in a little bit of stuff that I do at home because I know that when I get on these coaching calls, this comes up a lot and they're intertwined. There is no really such thing as work-life balance. Everything is totally intertwined. So when you're trying to talk about your vision at home, or let's say away from work, what I need you to think about is who are you trying to become? Who are you trying to identify as? And then once you have clarity on that, ask yourself why. And once you have clarity on that, ask yourself, okay, if this is who I'm trying to become, and this is why I'm trying to become that person, what do I need to do to become that person? And then finally, how do I need to do it? So I put an example here. This again, my wife, Kara. I have 7 core identities in my life, and I'll share them here in a second. Not to brag or anything like that, but these are the 7 identities that are important to me. This is my vision. What is yours? So one of my core identities is to be Kara's soulmate, to be the perfect mate for her. So why? Kara's my rock. She's my biggest support. She's my entire world. She's my best friend. She makes me the best version of myself. I love her unconditionally. I tell her daily she's beautiful. She's sexy. She's compassionate. She's funny. She has a huge heart. This is why I'm trying to become Kara's soulmate. So, okay, who am I trying to become? Kara's soulmate. This is why I have it here on the slide. So what and how? What do I need to do on a moment to moment to moment basis to become the soulmate to Kara? Now, again, this font's small because there's a lot here, right? But this is tactical. This is granular. This is what I need to do on a hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. I pray with her daily. I tell her daily that I love her. I take walks with her every day. I am intentionally empathetic when I'm listening to her. I try not to judge her. And when I am judging her, I catch myself and I get off that or I jump back on the balance beam. I'm not passive aggressive in my communication. So I have a whole protocol of what I need to do to become Kara's soulmate. The same exact thing is going to be true when we talk about vision at work. Okay. So this is our vision. Okay. Why? Ask yourself why this is my vision. Okay. Now that I know why this is my vision, what do I need to do on a moment to moment basis? Yearly, quarterly, monthly, daily, hourly, moment to moment. Okay. And how do I do that? That's what I will walk you guys through. So these are my 7 identities. Soulmates Kara, Dad of the Year, best friends others have, a man of grit and perseverance, a 10%er in health, wellness, and fitness, an extremely successful entrepreneur, and an irrational giver. And for each of these, I have why this is important to me, what I need to do to make this identity come true, and how I will do it. And I have pictures associated with each one of those. So again, I'm not sharing these to like be boastful or brag. I'm sharing them because I would love for you guys, clinicians and non-clinicians, to have your non-work vision as dialed in as what we were going to do for your work vision. So this isn't homework per se, but if this message resonates with you, then I would ask you, maybe some extra credit. I would ask you, who are you trying to identify as? Come up with two or three or four or whatever. Who? Why? Why is it important to you? Have clarity on it. Journal about it. So if you've now decided who you want to be, you've now decided why it's important to you. Now you need to decide what you need to do to make that happen, and specifically how, on a moment to moment basis, you will accomplish that. There's so much clarity and freedom in this exercise. Please consider doing it. I'm forcing you to do it for work. I want you to also consider doing it for home. Okay, back to work. So foundational principles, vision. So where are we going? How big? How much? How long? How? What would we like to accomplish? So this is ultimately the doctor, founder, owner's responsibility. They need to decide, and my visions are over 3 years. I know that people talk about 10-year vision, 20-year vision. In my opinion, it's bullshit, right? Because things change, life changes, things happen, right? I had a vision that was very set, and then my wife wanted a fourth child. I did not want a fourth child. We went back and forth. We ended up having twins. So now we have 5 kids. Boom, my vision changes, right? Life happens and it's cool, right? Like throw it at me. So I believe that 3 years is the ideal length to look out to. Okay. And again, this is the doctor's responsibility. Does he do it in a silo by himself? No. If he's married or in a relationship, I would strongly encourage that he has a conversation with his spouse about it. Does he have a key person on his team that he trusts that's been with him for a while? Maybe involve them in the situation, but it ultimately is the doctor's responsibility or the owner's responsibility. Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. So cast a very specific vision for what you want. Make it a 3-year vision. We have a QR code coming up here. This is going to be your first homework assignment, and it asks really specific questions on this. But just at a high level, what is the revenue? What is the profitability? How much are you working clinically? How much are you not working clinically? How many locations or treatment rooms? How many team members? What kind of dentistry are you doing? How many providers? What type of technology will be in your office? All of these things need to be addressed. And you create this super detailed visual situation of what your life from a work related perspective is going to look like in 3 years. Once we know that, now we start to reverse engineer. Once we know 3 years, I can tell you what we need to do in a year. I can tell you what we need to do in a quarter. I can tell you what we need to do this week. And when you have that level of clarity in your vision, and on a weekly basis, you can see if you're on track or off track and make strategic changes accordingly, it becomes easy. Trust me on this. But it doesn't start until you have a detailed, desired 3-year vision. Give your team a visual of so why are we doing that? It gives your team a visual of where they are going. Too many of you guys, and I was definitely in this boat, you would just grow for the sake of growing, right? The team had no idea where we were going. We're just going, just chaos after chaos after chaos. So again, when you have a 3-year vision, it explains to the team where you're trying to go. It greatly improves your 1-year planning. It breaks it down to quarterly goals and then ends up looking at things on a weekly basis. 3 years, revenue, profitability, locations, treatment rooms, team members, active patients, providers, technology, whatever feels right to you. And then again, in the homework, it's pretty clear on what we need from you. Are you looking for a lifestyle practice? Are you looking for a practice where you're no longer working clinically? The example that I gave about the client I worked with last year, one doctor, he's the only provider, 5 or 6 team members, works out of 6 operatories. That's his vision. That's his dream. That's his goal. Perfect. I'm very different. I have 150 employees. I don't work clinically anymore. 2 very, very different ends of the spectrum. And neither of them are right. Neither of them are wrong. Just decide what you want. What does the organization look and feel like? The culture, the systems. Make it realistic. And what do I mean by make it realistic? Some of you guys that are starting off, right? Like say you did a de novo or you bought a practice that was doing like three, $400,000 a year. You're gonna double in size. Like if you do the things that you're supposed to do, if you do the things that I'm going to teach you over the next 2 months, you're going to double in size. But once you kind of plateau after a couple of years, you're going to have to decide what's a realistic rate of growth if you're trying to grow. And then what are you trying to grow? Are you trying to grow top line revenue? Are you trying to grow bottom line EBITDA? Like get clarity with this. I was on a call a couple of days ago with someone where they ultimately decided their 3 year vision is to grow 5% year over year top line. 5% is not significant. You raise your fees, you should be able to grow 5%, right? Get a little bit more efficient, you should be able to grow 5%. But their goal is, their more difficult goal is to grow bottom line profitability by 15% year over year. Like that's a cool goal. And that's really going to move the needle for him. So again, no right, no wrong. Just decide what's important to you. Let's set the lighthouse. Let's set the North Star, and then let's go get it. Exponential growth comes with issues, right? There's a lot of pain points when we're trying to grow, say 25 or 30% year over year. And if you're okay with that, then I'm okay with that. But let's just be realistic. Let's make sure that we're dialed into what's going to come based on the goals and the vision that we have. And again, maybe your goal is to get to a certain amount of revenue, but you're not willing to leave one location. That's an issue, right? So again, just be realistic. Don't forget about the founder's dilemma. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. I've written blog posts about it. I can have Kenzie share those with you guys. But as dentists, your primary source of income is your ability to produce dentistry. So simply thinking, I'm going to replace myself with another doctor means that you're going to take a hit in income. Now, my good friend Addison Kling came up with this phrase, three and free. What he's basically saying there is you need 3 good producing associates to replace your income as a provider. And I found that to be somewhat true. So again, the founder's dilemma is a real issue while we're growing. And if you can figure out a way to navigate that and I can help you navigate that, then great. But don't think that I'm just going to not work anymore and find a doctor that's going to replace me. You will take a significant decrease in your income. And then give yourself grace, right? Just set the North Star, realize that I need to pivot here, I need to pivot here, but still go get it. So QR code for vision work. We'll also share it in the Facebook group. It's just a series of questions. I just want you to have it documented, right? This is what I want. Just document it. We'll keep it. You keep it, and always refer back to it. All right. Let's see how we're doing on time. Oh, I didn't mean to put myself in the middle there. Okay. So again, vision, reverse engineer it. How to reverse engineer. I have the blog post here, Kenzie will share. 3 years, 12 months, quarterly, monthly, weekly. Purpose. So we just talked about one of my key foundational principles is vision. The next key foundational principle is purpose. Why are we doing this? What is getting us out of bed? Why are we willing to go back to work tomorrow? What is getting us through our tough days? The way Lencioni asks it is, why do we exist? Why does your organization exist? Now, here's some examples of why dental practices exist: to provide the best dental experience ever. That's cool. If that's what's going to drive you to provide the absolute best dental experience ever, go with it. Over communicate it to your team. Fight like hell to get there. Okay. Another great reason why people exist is to fund a specific community organization or project, right? Maybe you want to take X amount of profits and dump it into Habitat for Humanity or the local rec center or your church or what. Cool. That's really cool. Maybe you're trying to create an environment that just lights up your employees. Like we are in existence to create an amazing place to work, right? Just off the charts, like stick compared to most dental offices. Awesome. Maybe it's to bring the latest and greatest of dentistry to your community. Perhaps you're in a rural community and there's only, Billy Bob that's 80 years old, still doing WFT, WFT? Oh, yeah, WFT amalgams, and you're going to just change the landscape. So you're going to bring a level of technology and customer service, and you're just take it to a whole nother level. Awesome. Um, Maybe you exist to create a lifestyle practice for you and your team. This is a Bill Blatchford concept that when I was early on in practice was very, very popular. Um, People that had a Bill Blatchford like practice was like that other dentist that I was referencing that worked 3 days a week, made a lot of money, was able to pay his team really, really well. They all worked 3 days a week. Like maybe that's what you want. Um, Stuffing cash under your mattress, it's not a good reason to exist. It's not a good purpose. Now, again, one of the reasons that we're in existence is to make money. But if that's your only reason for existence, I'm telling you right now, it will fizzle out. It won't drive you. It won't get you out of bed. It's the classic, money can't buy dot dot dot. Can't buy joy. Can't buy love. Can't be like there's so many things that money can't help you with. So again, I'm not suggesting that money's not important. Money is very important. But when you idolize it, when you put it on a pedestal, when it's driving everything, the wheels will come off. I promise you. I've been there. Our reason for existence is rooted in service. And again, I'm not sharing this with you because I feel like you should copy this, but I want to give you a very specific, detailed example based on my own brain damage, based on my own research of why our purpose is rooted in service. When we started shifting from a me to we mindset, when we started really doubling down on serving, and our strategy, as you'll see in a second here, is serving team members, serving patients, and serving the communities in which we have locations. It all started to change. The team can really get behind that reason for existence. They can really start to see, okay, why do I go to work? So I can serve each other from a team member's perspective, so I can serve the patients as best I can, and so we can irrationally give back to the communities that we serve. That's our reason for existence. That's why we get out of bed. This is the founder of Chick-fil-A, who has since passed on, has written a number of great books, and I just um, love everything about him. But I love this quote. It's not that we don't care about revenue and profits. Don't get me wrong. We do. We are in the business. We are in business. And part of that is to make money. But most of the time we find ourselves reflecting more back on our purpose. Many of you guys know that our corporate purpose is to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that he has entrusted us with and to have a positive influence on all that we have come in contact with. Serve them in whatever capacity we can. This is a $1 billion company. This is the founder that's saying that our primary reason for existence is to serve others and to be a great steward for all of the blessings that God has given him and his company. Like, and they make a shit ton of money, right? So if you have a really great centralized reason for existing, the rest takes care of itself. This is Christopher Reeves. Dating myself here. Most of you guys are younger than I am, but he was the original Superman. Um, and he was ultimately in an accident riding a horse. He fell off the horse and became a quadriplegic. Um, there's a great interview that he does with Larry King, who back in the day was like the interview guy on CNN. And I just shared this part of the interview. I so love this whole interview. Larry King said to Chris and Dana's his wife, um, hey guys, aren't there days where you get down? I mean, the guy's in a wheelchair, right? He used to be Superman. Now he's in a wheelchair. So I think it's a very legitimate question. Aren't there days when you get down? The wife says, yeah, when we're feeling sorry for ourselves, the first thing we try to do is reach out to help someone else. And it's amazing how you can start feeling better because of that. Christopher Reeves, take action, get the attention off yourself. That's the number one thing. When I read that, again, it goes back to service. Stop this pity party. Stop the woe is me, right? When I'm feeling lethargic, when I'm feeling lazy, I just figure out a way to go out and help somebody. Could be my son, could be my wife, could be my friend down the street, could be someone at work. And it's just amazing how that automatically changes your mindset. So am I helping someone else? Yes. Selfishly, is it helping me more? 100%. So some quotes that I love that come with serving. Get up, get out of your house, cross the road tracks, and go serve someone. Get out of me for a while, and me will be just fine. I just love that sentence. Get out of me for a while, and me will be just fine. This is a super important quote, and it speaks to what we'll talk about at the end of the course about becoming a better servant leader. This is one of those things where you do a little bit, and you do a little bit more, and you do a little bit more, and then you do a little bit more, and then all of a sudden you're a great servant leader. So again, the quote, goodness, like evil, often begins in small steps. Heroes evolve, they are not born. Leaders are not born. Very often, the rescuers of Jews made only a small commitment at the start to hide someone for a day or two. But once they had taken that step, once they started to act, to move, to be intentional, they began to see themselves differently as someone who helps. These developing heroes who saw themselves differently began to take more and more risks because they knew they had to help. They were seeking alignment between how they saw themselves and what they were doing to help. Abraham Lincoln, I feel good when I do good. It's getting more simpler than that. So true joy, from my perspective, my experience, and people like Abraham Lincoln, Jesus Christ, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, I'll share quotes throughout the presentation. They've come to the realization that true joy comes when you serve others, when you lay yourself down to help someone become better, when you do the hard work, the uncomfortable work of growing other people. So what's the point? When you use some service, it leads to more service. When you do some good, it leads to more good. When you serve others by doing good is the most obvious way to change how I feel, how we feel. It gets you out of bed. I'm going to help others. Friday, I have coaching calls. It's a busy day for me. I think I have 7 coaching calls scheduled on Fridays. One of them is a group coaching call with about 20 people, and the 6 of them are one-on-ones. I love getting out of bed Friday morning because I know I'm going to be able to help others. It totally lights me up, right? So, and I think most people would feel that way if they ultimately did that. When we serve others and seek their greatest good, it will often become necessary to extend ourselves into sacrifice. It's very difficult work, not for the faint of heart, but it fills you up. There's other things that I could be doing on Fridays. I don't need the money. I could be golfing. I could be skiing. But what really fills up my cup, what really gets me out of bed is helping other people. Now, if we're going to become the best servant leader that we can, same mindset has to apply. I want to help Mary become a better treatment coordinator. I want to help my office manager lead these people at the front desk. I want to help my lead assistant really grow these younger dental assistants and change the trajectory of their life. That's what we're talking about here. You have to want it. And if you do a little bit, you'll want it more and you want it more and you want it more. Study of the greatest servant leaders in history, Jesus, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, often find themselves speaking about the great joy that they derive from serving others. These leaders and a host of other servant leaders throughout history realized that compensation for serving others, joy and fulfillment, far outweigh the difficult work and extending ourselves to serve. I'm asking you to buy into this, at least for the next few weeks, at least start to try it. If you're not sure what to do, serve. If you're feeling down, serve. If you're looking for joy and contentment, serve. I'll quickly go through this. This is our vision and purpose. Again, I just want to kind of bring it full circle here. Um, Let me go back here. So these are the four components to our vision and purpose. Sustainable organization, change the way people feel about going to the dentist, change the livelihood of our team members and their families that partner with us, and then change the lives of the communities we serve in. I'm not going to go through and read all of these. You'll have access to all of these things, but this is what I'm talking about. Be absolutely clear with what you're trying to do, define it, describe it, and over communicate it to your teams. So again, homework. What is your purpose? Why do you exist? Why are you choosing that? Have you clearly articulated it and is it well defined? How are you going to start to over communicate it to your teams? The last foundational principle I want to talk about is core values, and then we'll open it up to the Q&A. Is this stuff like soft fluff or is it substance? So core values, in my words, it's a set of principles of how we are expected to behave. So do you have core values? Does your team know how they're expected to behave? Do the leaders have clarity on how they're expected to behave? Nothing can be worse than having core values and then putting it on a t-shirt or on a poster and then ignoring it and then not behaving that way. So I'm going to try to convince you, if you don't already, to have core values, make sure they're well defined, and live them every day. And we'll talk about how to do that. Here's two of my core values. I have nine, um, probably more than I need. Although I went to a Dave Ramsey course 2 years ago. He has 14, so I felt better about myself. But most people say 3 to 7. So one of the core values we have is influence and impact. Okay, perfect. That's a core value, right? But I think where the magic here is in the definition. If I start to evaluate someone on the core value of influence and impact, then I need to really have clarity with what influence and impact means in my world. So this is our definition. We will never minimize the influence and impact we have on others. We will act as lighthouses for others, specifically team members we work with, the communities we work with, and our patients that we serve, being the role model that others need in their life. We will love others at the highest level, being on love, agape love. We'll talk about that, being honest, truthful with them when they see opportunities to facilitate their own growth and impact. We will act to improve the lives and attitudes of the people around us. We will always be willing to go into the storm for the betterment of others. I just let an assistant go, 30-year assistant, probably one of my best clinical assistants. I could not get through to her on how her negative attitude was creating influence and impact. And I would read this to her and I would say, Mary, we have, I think I have close to 30 dental assistants in the organization. Many of them are under 25. Mary, do you realize the negative influence and impact that you have on these people when you are behaving the way you're behaving? Do you realize how amazing your influence and impact could be? How you could change the trajectory of these people's lives if you just helped them instead of complained about them? You know, this conversation went on through a series of weeklies, and we'll talk about weeklies and talk about all that. And she just couldn't change. So it was time to let her go. I'll take a player from a core value perspective all day long versus someone that is an exceptional roles and responsibilities or task manager. Here's another one of our core values. When in doubt, do the right thing. When we make a mistake, we will make it right, no matter what the consequence. We will always do what's in the best interest of the patient. We will always do what's in the best interest of our team as a whole versus as an individual. So again, last homework assignment. Do you have core values? Are they well defined? What's the best way of going about developing these core values and communicating them to the team? So this is just if you don't have core values or if you have them and you haven't really revisited them, these are the steps that I would encourage you to take. Step number one, find 3 people that you could possibly clone that you just absolutely are enamored with, right? Ideally 3 people that you have worked with either currently or in the past. When you have these 3 people identified, list the characteristics and qualities of them as to why you would put them on the list, right? We all have those 2 or 3 people like, oh my gosh, if I could clone Mary, I would. Why? Well, it's because of her work ethic. It's because of her humility. It's because she's a team player, whatever it is. So you find these 3 individuals and you list on a whiteboard all of the characteristics that make these 3 people amazing. Once you have that, you're going to have a pretty long list, like 20 or 30. Then you have to start to narrow it down. Some of them will be common enough where you can combine them. Some of them are just not really what you're about. You find 2, 3, 4 that are no-brainers. You ultimately take this list and you narrow it down to say 15. And then you and your leadership team, you discuss, debate, and decide on, of these 15, what are the final 3 to 7 that we're gonna go with. You then define these, just like I defined those 2 core values for you. Just have to be exceptionally detailed in defining them. Because when you're doing a performance review and you tell Mary she's not humble, she doesn't follow the core value of humility. Well, what does that even mean? Unless you have humility extremely well defined and how it relates to you and your business, then Mary should be asking, what are you talking about? I'm not humble. I'm very humble, right? So have it really, really well defined. Leave no ambiguity on what each core value means and stands for. Once you have this done, don't just go announce it to the team. Let it simmer for 2 to 4 weeks amongst your leadership team or amongst you and your key leads. Start to act it out. And then after that, if it starts to really resonate with you, now you need to over communicate it to the organization. You need to use real stories, real life examples, use daily instances of how you're constantly talking about the core values. So an example of that is at morning meeting, we're constantly asking the team, hey, Mary, please identify one of your team members that exhibited one of our core values is a team player. Please describe how one of your teammates exhibited the core value of team player yesterday. Okay. And then it's a minute conversation at morning meeting, and it keeps it fresh. It keeps it top of mind. As we finish up here, anybody know who this, where this is? I can't hear you, so you're probably all answering correctly. But this is actually a very, very famous road. It's called the Road to Hannah. And the reason I'm sharing this is because of a quote in a book that I was reading a couple weeks ago. Some time ago, a friend of mine and his wife visited a major Maui tourist attraction called the Road to Hannah. It comprised a long and winding road that, over the course of hours, took them through breathtaking scenery, waterfalls, cliffs, mountains, beaches. At the end, there was nothing but a small town of Hannah with one gas station. When they finally arrived, my friend's wife was very upset. She said, "We drove all this way." And she missed the point. The road to Hannah is not about the journey, is about the journey. It's not about the destination. So why do I think that's relevant here? Because we just talked about a lot of stuff: vision, purpose, core values. Like, don't rush to get there, right? Enjoy the process of trying to figure this out and really embrace it. Like, this is exciting stuff, especially if you've never done it before. Like, you have your whole career in front of you. Like, let's enjoy the process of getting to where we want to go. Because I can assure you, based on my own personal experience, once you set a goal and you actually get there, it's not like, oh my gosh, I've arrived. You just set another goal. Like, because true growth, true joy comes in the process of trying to attain that goal. So I want you to think about this Road to Hannah perspective as you're going through that.
Thank you. That wraps up another episode of the Dental Lighthouse podcast. You have a choice today. Choose to be a lighthouse. Lighthouses are powerful and steadfast. They are beacons of light for others to reference when life gets turbulent. Go out into the world today and become a lighthouse for someone. Give more than you get. True joy comes from serving others. Start today. I'm Jason Tanoory, your host. Thank you for listening to the Dental Lighthouse podcast. For more information, podcast show notes, or links to anything that we have discussed today, please check out our website, thedentallighthouse.com. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to get on the show, please email us at podcast@thedentallighthouse.com.